Friday.
That's today.
I often wonder, Casey McAllister, hi everybody. I'm Tom Brenneman and welcome to Dialed In. I often wonder, do most people get more excited about Friday because they know it's the start of the weekend? Or are they actually more excited about Saturday and Sunday?
It just depends, I think. For me, I'm excited about Friday because my weekend starts after work.
That's what I mean.
That's how I feel about the weekend.
So it's the anticipation that it's about to begin. That's right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but what about Saturday? You know it's already there, and you're like, man, I got a full day off. I don't even have to think about work. I wonder more people are excited, even while they're working on a Friday, about it being Friday and the start of the weekend, or when they actually get to the days where they're off.
I don't know. For me, I'm just excited it's the weekend because, one, on Fridays we get to do this show, and that makes me really excited.
I'm sure it does, no doubt.
And two, it's the weekend, so yeah.
Okay, all right. Hey, listen, we owe a big thanks to our good friends David Lindner and company over at United Dairy Farmers. They just re-upped with us for another year. So today I'm going to have the UDF. Normally I have the UDF coffee cup and the Pawnee water, but today I'm going to put up the UDF water just for today to say thanks. I didn't have a coffee cup. I had one of these in the car. But seriously, we can't thank them enough. So for all of you, if you have a choice, you're driving by this place to get a cup of coffee or gas, you're driving by that place to get a cup of coffee or whatever. If you're able to stop at UDF, they have been a huge part of our family here at Chatterbox Sports. We cannot thank them enough. I mean, they're spending big league money in a lot of places. The Reds, the Bengals, FC Cincinnati.
That's right.
And then there's us at Chatterbox Sports. Maybe we'll be as big as all of them one day. I don't know. But we know we're not right now, and so we certainly appreciate all the people and the good people at United Dairy Farmers. Denise, who runs their marketing department over there, she's awesome. She just lost a parent recently, and so we're thinking about her, but good stuff.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for UDF for re-upping once again. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, and they took a chance on us, and we're thankful for that.
That's exactly right. We are. And thankful for all of you. Derby start of the Derby this weekend.
That's right.
Kentucky Derby this weekend.
You got a horse, Tom?
I don't. My son, who is in college and goes to Indiana, so he's got a bunch of buddies. You know, a school like Indiana, these Big Ten schools, kids are from everywhere. Okay, now, obviously, if you took a majority, they're going to be in-state kids, right? But most of the friends that he's made are kids from Jersey, are kids from Chicago, are kids from Massachusetts, Connecticut, whatever, right?
Right.
Okay, but he does obviously have some buddies that are from Indianapolis or Carmel or Carmel, they call it there, I guess, Munster, wherever. And so a bunch of them are going down to the Derby on the infield. Have you ever been to the infield at the Kentucky Derby?
No, I've not.
Okay, there must be, I might be stretching it here, but maybe not. There might be 50,000 people in this infield, maybe more than that.
Wow.
If there is a slight hint of rain, the infield is all grass. And with all the people walking on it, it turns to mud. You are covered. No matter what you try to do, you will be covered with mud from head to toe by the end of Saturday afternoon. I just said, dude, if that sounds good, let her rip. Go have some fun with your buddies.
Right.
I used to have friends of mine, really good buddies of mine in college, that went to the infield of the Indianapolis 500 every year. Complete debauchery. Chaos. But they had a good time.
Would you dress up for it, Tom?
The Derby?
Yeah, like a lot of people dress up in like the old Victorian style, like
no,
hats and whatnot.
I'm not doing it. No, I'm not. I'm not doing it. I've dressed up, like a coat and tie or stuff for like people who had parties
Yeah.
You know? But that was all in fun, and you didn't live too far away. You could get out of it, take it off whenever you wanted. But to have to go spend an entire day dressed like that, some of the headgear, would you?
No, I would not.
Are you
But I
going to
know
watch
people,
the Kentucky Derby?
I'll pay attention to it. I mean, it's only a couple minutes, so there's not much to pay attention to. I've got my horse already picked out in my mind, just a touch. Other than that, I mean, it depends on when it actually starts. Do you know what time it actually starts?
It's normally around like 5:30, 5:45, somewhere in that neighborhood, late in the afternoon.
If it's a time where I can actually turn it on, I will. I have to do a photo shoot with my family tomorrow, and it's tomorrow.
Photo shoot? What kind of shoot? What
Well,
do you?
I'm gonna be-
everybody.
No, just immediate side for my in-laws on that side, and I'm gonna be the one taking the photos and setting it up. I'm gonna be the photographer, so.
So like a time thing, and you race in and get in the picture, one of those deals?
Yeah. And that's around the same time.
Where are you doing this?
I believe.
We could come photo bomb it.
Come photobomb it. I don't know exactly where it's at. I believe it's somewhere in Blue Ash, though, where we rented out a studio to do it. So, yeah.
Okay, so this isn't one of those outdoor deals where you're
No.
hoping it doesn't rain and all that stuff, right?
No.
Okay, all right. We come your way here on Dialed In a couple of times a week. We're live on Monday mornings at 9:15 a.m. on Chatterbox Sports, and then we post later that day on the Believe Network. You can download us there. Fridays, we're on both, and we come your way here on Chatterbox a little afternoon following Off the Bench. You can join us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. Download us anytime, anywhere you find your podcast. Just search Dialed In with Tom Brenneman, and you're dialed in. Fridays, we normally do a big interview, but not this week since we didn't have a show on Monday. So we'll get back to that next week. And as always, please follow us on X, Elon, at Tom Brenneman TV. All right. The Reds enjoyed an off day yesterday. And let's face it, they needed one. They have guys that are beat up, nearly an entire lineup of guys that aren't hitting right now. They're just not hitting. They find a way to score runs, but they don't hit. They limped home from Texas and San Diego, 2-4 on that road trip. They're 3-6 in their last 9, and they've lost 3 straight series going back to Philly before they hit the road. Right? Tonight, they are back on the home front at GABP against one of the better teams in baseball, the Baltimore Orioles. That's the first of a 3-game series tonight. The Orioles are 20-11 on the season. They sit atop the American League East. They just beat the New York Yankees 3 times in the last 4 days. They were at home, but they beat the Yanks 3 out of 4. First time the Yanks have not been in first place all season long. Left-hander Cole Irvin. Normally left-handers are a nightmare for the Reds. He starts for Baltimore tonight. Now, this guy didn't allow a single run his first 2 starts of the year, but the last 3 starts, he's only pitched 14 innings and given up 11 runs. Hunter Greene gets a ball for the Redlegs, coming off his best outing of the year. He was fantastic last Saturday in Texas. I mean, that's the Hunter Greene that you want to see. Cincinnati sits in 3rd place in the NL Central, 3.5 games behind front-running Milwaukee, 2.5 behind 2nd place Chicago. More on the Reds in a minute. There's been a lot made about playing shorthanded and all this kind of stuff. We're going to get into some of those reasons why and what to watch for here over the next 2, 3, 4 days. Because we'll get into it in a minute, okay? We talked about the Kentucky Derby. That's on Saturday in Louisville. FC Cincinnati looks for its 3rd straight win. That's this Saturday night. They travel to Orlando. FCC sits 3 points behind Inter Miami CF for the top spot in the East. Flying Pig Marathon, you running in that?
I was asked to go watch it, and I politely declined. Last year was disastrous. It was the flood.
Yeah.
So hopefully this year it's a lot better for those folks.
You know, I've always wanted to do one of those. I started training 2 times in my life for one, and both times I've always had a lot of foot problems, mainly plantar fascia stuff for a long, long time. And it prevented me from doing it. I really wish I could say one day I did that in my life. I just don't know if it's in the cards now at 60.
Well, maybe you can cross the great Miami over here with Reed, and that'll make up for it.
I'm all in on that. I could go do that right now. No problem. No problem. Swim across that thing, swim over and back. No sweat. I think it's really cool. I think it's amazing the people who go out and do that. Some people will say, oh, my God, who wants to subject themselves? It's just the fact that you committed to something and you accomplished it. You did the training, right? I don't care if it takes you 9 hours. You did it. And the inspirational stories of some of the people you see that are running and the reasons that they're running, or people who are disabled, or people who have relatives that are disabled and they're pushing them. I mean, some of the stories are amazing. I don't care who wins the thing. You don't either. I couldn't tell you one person except for Julie Isfording, who I just happen to be friends with, that's ever won that thing.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you at all who's won that race ever.
No.
Like, not one.
I guess a lady who won it last year had heart surgery. Huh. I just saw the headline today in the paper. Anyway, on to the NFL. Dak Prescott will not face charges for sexual assault after Dallas detectives determined there was insufficient evidence from a case going all the way back to 2017. Will Justin Fields return kicks for the Steelers this year? Did you see this story?
I did see this story.
Apparently, if special teams coordinator Danny Smith has his way, remember, the new kickoff rules state the cover team, okay? So they line up where you kick the ball. The cover team cannot take off until the returner touches the ball or it lands in a certain area, okay? So as far as running the ball, who runs the ball better than Justin Fields? Seriously.
Yeah.
Is there a running back on the planet that runs the ball better than Justin Fields?
Yeah, he's a great running back, Tom.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Stay tuned. We'll see how it plays out. The Steelers also announced they will not pick up the fifth-year option on running back Najee Harris in 2025. Chiefs did the same thing. For wide receiver Kadarius Toney, they're not picking up his option. Kirby Smart of Georgia signs a new 10-year, $130 million contract. Highest paid coach in college football? He should be. He's won 2 national championships. He's lost one game. One game in 2 years, 2 games in 3 years. That's not too shabby. NBA playoffs. The Indiana Pacers advanced to the Eastern semis, 4-2. They beat the injury-riddled Bucks. They didn't play without Giannis. They didn't play without Damian Lillard, all those guys for a long, long time. You can understand it. Okay, so on go the Pacers. Who did they play? Next up will be the New York Knicks. How about that series? That was an unbelievable series. They win 4-2 over Philadelphia. But this was for all the people that hate the NBA or don't want to watch the NBA till the playoffs, this series gave you a reason to watch. The average margin of victory was 5 points in the 6 games, including last night's 118-115 thriller. Knicks star Jalen Brunson, the kid who went to Villanova, he averaged 42 points per game over the last 4 games of this series. He had 41 in the clincher last night. The Knicks have not been to a conference final, the New York Knicks, in over 20 years. Meanwhile, Cleveland looks to advance to the second round later tonight against Orlando. Cavs own a 3-2 lead. Winner of that series will face the top seed Boston Celtics. And out west, one semi is set. Denver and Minnesota begin tomorrow. And then Dallas is at home tonight with a 3-2 lead over the LA Clippers. A Mavs win, and they will face a number 1 seed out west, Oklahoma City. So we will be down to the final 8 teams in the NBA after this weekend. You watching any of that?
I've been paying attention to it. All the middle of the year, middle of the season for the NBA, I was betting it heavy.
Yeah.
Was really focused in on it. Couple of different things I have takeaways from it. Jalen Brunson is really good.
Unbelievable.
He's really good. I saw some we were kind of poking fun at it earlier that some of the other national sports coverage had Jalen Brunson better than Carmelo Anthony. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but man, he's really, really good. congrats to the Knicks for getting a guy like him and not really knowing what you're getting out of him, to be honest with you. I mean, he came from I can't remember where he started at, but it definitely wasn't the Knicks before got traded. I think it was Dallas. He was originally from the Mavericks, and then he ended up getting traded to the Knicks, and man, he's got that team rolling. Couple other things. I think that I think the Lakers. I know you didn't really touch on it much, but man, what a joke that was. LeBron basically just saying like it's basketball, like it's not like your final year playing for a playoff spot. I thought that was a joke.
It's not a joke.
I
mean, they're playing. Look, I know because they had identical records, the Nuggets and Oklahoma City, and because of the head-to-head, Oklahoma City is the number 1 seed. The Nuggets are the 2 seed.
Yeah.
The Nuggets are the best team.
Yeah.
They're the best team with the best player.
Yeah, Jokic is the best.
Without a doubt. I mean, people can see. My son and I got in this argument driving home yesterday from Bloomington. I mean, some other dude he says is going to win, the kid from Kentucky. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank. Come on. He's got a hyphen name. Gosh, why am I drawing? Somebody help me in the chat here. Anyway, the Nuggets are the best team, and they have the best player. He may not win the MVP, but he's the best player. Shea, that's it. Okay, you got Tomas. Thank you, my good buddy, Tomas.
Yeah.
The Lakers didn't choke. They just got beat by a better team.
They had
a much better team.
They had leads though against the Nuggets multiple times and just choked it away. Like I get you lost to a team that you probably should lose to.
You're should lose to.
Yeah, you're inferior to them. But man, it just felt like you had your opportunities to make it more competitive and they didn't do that. Shame for the Lakers. Other than that, I think the Timberwolves and the Nuggets, I think that series is going to be really fun to watch. Other than that,
that is going to be a fun series to watch. Yeah. I'm with you because the Timberwolves are good.
They are.
They're good. They will compete. All right, listen, I want to get into this whole Reds thing because I know on Off the Bench you've gotten into it a lot. I was watching and a lot of the comments and stuff on talk radio and all this kind of thing about the Reds playing during this road trip short-handed. And there is no doubt they did. They found a little fracture with Encarnacion Strand that was there before he got hit by the pitch in Texas. Stevenson has been out. But here's the deal now, okay? I'm going to try to lay it out there, and many of you already know this, so I'm going to bore you to death. But you have to understand a couple of things before you ride the GM or the baseball ops people for playing shorthanded. Because there are some rules in place that keep people from, guys a little beat up, put them on the injured list for a day or two, and bring him back. Okay? When you put them on there, they got to be on there 10 days now. It used to be 15. Okay? So let's start with that. Then you also have to look at, if you've got, let's use Stevenson as a perfect example, okay? The Reds AAA team right now, the last I checked, they have 3 catchers on that team, or have had 3 catchers on that team. None of the 3 are on the Reds' 40-man roster. This might be the most important part of all this, okay? If you bring a guy to the major leagues from the minor leagues, you have to put him on your 40-man roster. So that means somebody has to go off your 40-man roster. And that could be one of your best players in the minor leagues that you're protecting. It could be somebody who's currently on your major league team, that if they were taken off the roster, and I know some of you are saying, okay, well, if you had to put Bubba Thompson off the roster, is anybody losing sleep? Right?
Right.
Probably not. I get it. But the Reds have Thompson on the roster for a reason. They believe that he can help them do some things in the run game, on defense. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, that's not the premise of this thing. Here's what I'm getting at. Because of the rules being what they are, both in terms of the 40-man and in terms of the injured list. If you go 3 or 4 games, I'm going to give the organization some rope. But back when I was doing the games on TV and radio, I would go off the reservation if they play, and I will again on this show on Monday. If all of a sudden they go through this weekend, 3 games this weekend, shorthanded, okay? That means you've played, depending on the player, that means you've played 6 to 7 games shorthanded.
That's right.
We're in a big spot. Martini's hitting against a left-handed pitcher. No chance.
Yeah.
I was a left-handed hitter. I'd have a better chance. Maybe. But the point being is that this is one of those wait-and-see moments, okay? Because you're on the road, guy gets injured, guy gets nicked up, hit on the hand, you get the x-ray, you find something else. Your team doctor is not traveling with you, okay? Now, you will have access to the Padres or the Rangers team doctor to give you what they think about it. You'll have access to them. But this isn't your guy, okay, that ultimately you trust and know and help you make decisions. So you got the training staff there. And the trainers are very sharp guys. But let's see what happens now that they're back home. You never want somebody to go on the injured list. Never. We never want any player, like them or don't like them. But they cannot play shorthanded this weekend. Shorthanded. And Blackmore says that India would clear waivers. No chance Jonathan India would clear waivers. There, zero chance. He'd be scooped up in 10 minutes.
He would at least be a DH.
He would be scooped up immediately. So that's the deal. If we're all back here and reconvene on Monday, and they've played the entire weekend without certain players available. And see, here's the thing that makes you crazy, okay? You know, like we used to sit, every manager's done this, not just David Bell, every one of them. Dusty Baker, Brian Price, all through the last number of years, okay? And every one of them with other teams. Bruce Bochy, whatever. They'll sit there with guys they know and trust. They'll sit there at a meeting with me before the game, and they'll say, hey, now listen, we're staying away from pitcher X and pitcher Y in the bullpen tonight. Guy feels a little tightness in his shoulder. Other guy, we've worked him a little too much. But don't broadcast that tonight. Because they do listen in the visitors' clubhouse. They listen to the radio and TV broadcasts for information just like that in the big leagues from local announcers, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so like tonight, David might tell fill in the blank. Say, hey, listen, CES, a couple days away. Stevenson, we're hoping maybe by tomorrow or Sunday. Monday at the lead, at the out, we'll see. You'll never know while the game's going on, because David Bell doesn't want the other team to know while they're here in the right now, because that team knows if the right-handed hitters aren't available off the bench late in the game when they go to their bullpen and they see the Reds have 2 or 3 left-handed hitters possibly coming up, they're going to bring in a left-handed pitcher because they know you're not going to use your right-handed batters. They're unavailable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the – I don't know if you're wanting to get into this at all or if you've even looked into it, but when we have these conversations about them being shorthanded, being empty, not having enough bodies – the question that I ask is always, who's the option? Who are you calling up? Mike Ford was just put on the IL. I don't know. We were talking about earlier. We don't know exactly what that means for the Reds. But there's not really other options to go out and get a guy better than those guys, right? So I don't like.
That's the main thing. You bring up the best point of all. So thank you. If the guys were any good, right? They'd be here now.
Right.
I'm not suggesting they won't be good down the road.
Yeah.
But you're not going to bring up a non-roster catcher from your AAA team and put yourself in a situation where you're making somebody else available for others to take them away for nothing.
Yeah.
For a guy that you don't even want on your big league club.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, that's my biggest thing about this whole conversation is, like, what do they even do? Like, they're in a tough spot as it is. The guys that are available to them, I think, are the best options until there's no other choice than to try to continue to compete, because I don't think that they're going to do very well with the current lineup, right?
They're not, especially against a left-handed pitcher.
And I think Trace has pretty much kind of laid it out there, like 13 and 17 in this stretch, this upcoming month or whatever. If they go any worse than that, like, they have no other options but to seek out other players, in my opinion, and you have to run that risk. I just don't know, like, I'm not super heavy into, like, who's all in AAA, super invested into that.
And a lot of people are into that, but yeah.
But at the moment, if there was a guy available, and we'll know for sure this weekend, right? Like you said, if they don't get any help, then we know that there's a big problem with not just the roster itself as it stands, but the AAA roster is not ready either,
but
right?
You're right. But here's the thing, though. Somebody who can play is better than somebody who can't play at all.
That's true.
Okay, so right? But what are the repercussions from that thing? That's why I'm saying I'm giving them rope for the last 4 games, because I'm sure they're thinking with the off day, everybody's good to go starting tonight. If they go the next 2 or 3 games through the weekend, and then Arizona comes rolling in on Monday night, well, and you've played short the whole weekend, then that's not trying to win. You can go 3-4 days. You're potentially costing your team games if you start drifting into 6, 7, 8 games, because you can get them back after 10 days. Now, you can make it retroactive. So, in other words, if a guy got hurt last Saturday and he didn't play Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, okay, that's 4 games. You could put him on the injured list today, make it retroactive to the last time he's played, and tonight would already be 4 games down with only 6 to go before you could bring him back. But if you're just drifting along and you can't bring guys into games, well, now you are undermanned and you're not competing.
Tom, I got a couple other questions for you. Is this injury streak, I'll call it a streak, because this has been ongoing since last year, maybe even further than that. I really didn't start paying attention to the Reds until last year. But this has been almost a 2-year-long process where we just get guys hurt all the time. Is there something to be said about our training staff?
I don't think so. It's a great question. A lot of people ask it, and it's a legitimate question. I mean, it's a legitimate question, and I'm sure there are people in the baseball operations department, maybe even ownership, that have said the same thing. But, you look at just look at 3 of the guys right now, okay? Friedel, he's diving for a ball in the outfield, breaks his wrist. What are you going to do, right? I mean, that's not a training issue, right? That's just a freak play that happens in sports, any sport. You could fall down in basketball, break your hand, fall down in football, whatever. Okay. McClain. He swings, abdominal thing. Guys all over the league get this all the time. Then they up finding out it's a little more serious than that when he comes back this year into spring training. Then all of a sudden, bam, his shoulder's hurt. Well, I mean, that they think that was because of one play about the shoulder. Same thing with CES. He did something last year, and it didn't bother him enough. I mean, give the kid all the credit in the world. He kept playing. He did something last year that messed some kind of break in there, and he just keeps playing, right?
Right.
And now he gets hit with a pitch, and they want to make sure nothing new is in there broken, and they find this thing from the old days. So I don't think that this has anything to do with the Reds' medical personnel or training methods. If this was a bunch of, and even it's hard to say if it was hamstrings and quads and things like that. I mean, the Lodolo thing. He breaks his leg. You know?
Yeah.
So, no, I think they have real. In fact, I think the Reds have some of the best team doctors of any team in Major League Baseball. Kremchek and that whole group at Beacon, I think they do a great job. All right, let's wrap it up. Anything else on your mind?
Nothing else on my mind, Tom. Excited to watch some Reds this weekend for sure.
You going down there?
I thought about it. This Friday, I don't think I'm doing anything today. After the meeting I'm going to go to here shortly, Elliott's going down to the game. We'll see. Maybe I'll swing down there.
I mean, do you have to run that by your bride if all of a sudden, you go downtown and you have a meeting, and then all of a sudden you're like with Elliott and you're like, hey, let's go have a couple pops, somewhere along the banks, and let's go to the game. I mean, is all that cool?
Yeah, as long as we discuss money. But other than that, yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That'll change. That'll change for sure. All right. We will see all of you on Monday morning. 9:15 is when we roughly get on the air, right before off the bench. I want to see if there's anybody. Why is this fighting going on between Brian and John? You guys, you've been with us for too long. Steve makes a great point about the Reds' upcoming road trip. Look, you got to get through this homestand before the next road trip. You're going to San Francisco, Arizona, and the Dodgers. Okay? You're playing, arguably, the best team in the American League, maybe the best team in baseball starting tonight for the next 3 days. And then you got Arizona coming in who, look, they got guys like the Reds do. Like, Corbin Carroll last year tears it up, right? Rookie of the year, landslide winner, great in the postseason. I mean, he's hitting like $180. But that ain't going to last.
No.
And so the Diamondbacks are a bona fide World Series contending team that's off to roughly a 500 start, like the Reds. And they're coming in here. So you got 6 games. But if the Reds if they could get through this roughly, let's call it 30-game stretch with the teams they're playing, if they're 4 or 5 under, I think they're okay. Unless you get Milwaukee or the Cubs or somebody like that rips off like the Reds did last summer, 10 straight wins, 11 straight wins, then all of a sudden, you're losing a lot of ground fast. Most teams aren't going to go on that kind of run. Reds are going to be fine. They, by and large, have pitched much better than I thought they would pitch. But they got to hit. I mean, you're not going to win if you don't hit. They're scoring runs, but in all the other categories, it's going to catch up with them sooner or later. So we'll see. All right, Casey, have a great weekend.
You too, Tom.
Thank you, my friend. Thank all of you for being with us. This is Dialed In with Tom Brenneman. Download us and check us out. And we'll look forward to seeing you again on Monday. Have a great weekend.